Trik Lama.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be back. It's been a month since our last Trick Lama. So today we have the same three stooges, amigos, and we have a very special guest, Mr. Derek John Fernandez, very prolific lawyer. Uh, at, when I started out my career as a journalist, he was the go-to person for planning laws, land acquisition, drainage and irrigation. Yeah. And but today he is, I would say, one of the foremost authorities on cyber laws. Derek is a commissioner for the MCMC, the Malaysia Communications and Multimedia Commission, and he's our guest today. Derek, welcome to Trick Lama.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, Derek.
Welcome. Yeah, thank you, Terence. I mean, I come from a perspective that it is the duty of government to protect its citizens from threats, both domestic and foreign. And therefore, it is our responsibility to protect the people from harms. Now, in the recent years, we've noticed that because we've pursued a policy of digitalization, the mantra of digitalization as the way forward, which has brought a lot of benefits. It seems that these benefits, which have greatly helped everybody, also came with some disadvantages, some harms, some threats to public safety and public security. And unfortunately, the true cost of that digitalization, we always believed we did not take into account security. And we've seen the statistics are out there that the criminals are moving into the realm of the cyberspace. The people who want to hurt children are moving into the realm of cyberspace. The bullies out there are moving into the realm of cyberspace. And it's from that perspective that I felt that more needs to be done to protect the public from things they may not be aware of as to how the tool of platforms, social media platforms, the internet can be exploited very, very effectively to cheat them, to harm them, to hurt them. And in the last 1 year, we've worked on a number of policy objectives, which I'm glad to note that around the world, everyone is doing the same thing, of making these platforms more responsible to protect their subscribers, their viewers, people who are using their services from harm. And in that regard, MCMC has taken a big role in trying to do this to meet the objectives of making the internet accessible to all and safe to all.
So can you go into specifics of what this harm is? Are we talking about children?
Okay, so online harm, we call it online harm, embodies a number of things. One, it embodies what is called the exploitation of children or child sexual abuse material, grooming of children, trying to influence children to do things that are wrong, that are harmful to them, and exploiting them. It also covers an online harm, a scam. I think most of your viewers have, one way or another. I remember you actually wrote a very, in the Scoop, an article that actually highlighted that scams doesn't only occur to older people who are digitally illiterate, but it happens to even to teenagers and people who are actually using the technology. It also covers things like bullies, people who are, and we've lost a citizen who committed suicide as well. So online harm covers the whole range of activities, basically, that are harmful and break Malaysian law. And the conduit of that is the digital platform where that is utilized.
Derek, I was given some statistics. It's quite alarming. You know that the child pornography increased by 130% in Malaysia last year.
The last 1 year.
Yes,
Wow.
and child grooming and gambling scams. So these are real numbers. And why are there still resistance to people? Is it because they don't trust MCMC, or because they don't like the Minister of Information, or they don't like the government? Is it because of that, or they don't see the harm in all these things?
Okay, so I think the basic is people don't see the forest from the trees. They don't understand the danger, and that's why it is very difficult to get that message out there. we need to go back to the concept of information and the control of information. Was it not George Orwell, I think, in his book, talked about uh, uh, the media, and he who controls the media controls the citizens. Starting from that concept, we go into the concept of the control of information. If I'm able to control what you see or hear, I can actually influence what you do. And we see that all the time. I mean, we go, most of you, I think, will be shopping online, and you may be talking about you like to buy this particular car, and 3 years later, you see ads of that particular car, and it excites you, and your particular habits, you like red color, and you begin to see all these images associated with thoughts you had and expressed to a friend and a desire. So if I'm able to control what goes into your head, I can control what you do. In extreme cases, I can get you to commit violence, I can get you to harm yourself, I can get you to harm other people, and I can get you to give up your money. And the algorithms associated with what we call human profiling are so advanced right now, and getting more and more advanced with the use of artificial intelligence and deepfake technologies, that it becomes a very good servant, but a very bad master. And if it is exploited and utilized by the wrong people, it can create serious damage. And we've seen that. I think today in Singapore, we've got a person, millions they've lost in scams, hundreds of thousands of Sing dollars. And these are not people who you would normally expect. I think the most celebrated case was the Hong Kong scam, where 34 million dollars were transferred because there was a video conferencing. So like me and your viewer, we're having a talk right now, and you think this is Derek sitting here, and that's you sitting there, and suddenly I tell you, in the case, for example, let's say you're working for me, and I say, Yusuf, Rohani, Raju, David, please pay money to this account right now. I want to close a deal. Get it done straight away. I'm here with my other friends here, and we need to do this in the next 30 minutes because we're going to miss an opportunity. And you take my instruction on the video conferencing going on right now, and you transfer the money. That's what happened in the Hong Kong case. And it turned out to be all this was a deep fake. It was all elaborately structured. So that visual which you saw was fake. And so we're getting to the stage where we can't trust what we hear and we can't trust what we see anymore. And people who are able to exploit this technology are able to convince very convincingly somebody that they are somebody other than what they are, and to do things which they want them to do. And this problem is going to quadruple with the increase of AI and usages of AI and all that. So the public are at risk, but they don't understand the bigger picture, that he who controls, or she or who controls the information controls the behavior. And that message is not really seen. Many of your viewers think that censorship does not go on on the social media.
Yeah.
In fact, social media is the biggest censor of information because they all have a set of rules and regulations, number one, which say you can't do this, you can't do this. None of these rules they have actually discussed with any of the customers. Should we have it? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad? It's just dictated. You take it or leave it kind of situation. And we've got complaints now. I think in America, you're beginning to see more information on, for instance, COVID, mRNA vaccines, and you've got social media platforms saying you were forced to, shadow block, to take out certain content so that people get a different idea from what is done. And these tools can be used to change election results, create social unrest, and if used by the wrong people, but highly qualified wrong people, it can create a lot of damage. So we are beginning to see all these things that are unfolding and happening, and therefore it becomes important that these platforms, while they're very good, they do a lot of things, they help us all talk to each other, to socialize, to sell our products and services. They need to take some responsibility in managing who is there, who is using it, and whether those people are harmful to others.
So Derek, this social media licensing that starts January 1, that is part of your initiatives, MCMC's initiatives to combat online harm.
Yes, it most certainly is. But the funny thing about it is this is nothing new. In 1998, the Communications and Multimedia Act was passed. Now that's 20,
20 years.
20, 20 25 years, 25, 26
years, yeah.
passed. And actually under this law, they are required to hold a license. But our country, because it started off promoting the internet and all that, for a long time did not require them to hold a license. But everybody else, people who provide network services for contents or applications, or for instance, like telcos, all have to be licensed. So everybody got to be licensed. They got away with not being licensing and helped develop the internet. But at this point in time, the government says because their impact is so high, the thousands and thousands and thousands of human beings that are using the services and can be subject to harm. You know, I'm not saying they deliberately did the harm, but they're allowing people in there, and not enough is being done worldwide, that they have to be accountable to the local law. They must respect the local law, and one of the ways to make them accountable is by a licensing regime. I mean, the vendor of a nasi lemak shop or a char kway teow van needs to be licensed. A bank needs to be licensed. Me as a lawyer need to be licensed. I mean, there's nothing unusual. There's nothing sinister about licensing. It just says that you can operate in our country, you can make money, good for you, and you can do what you want to do, but respect our law. Make sure that Malaysian laws are followed, and do not allow people on there which are going to use your platform to break Malaysian laws and to harm people. So it's nothing terribly sinister. It is not something terribly new.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So
why,
like-
why are they resisting?
To be very blunt about it, they never, in the European Union, which has probably the most stringent laws regulating these platforms, in America, all is full compliance. But when it comes here, or it comes to the Asian countries, oh no, it's, stifles innovation. No, they don't want it. The reason it's cost. I believe it is cost. I believe it is that if they license, they feel they're going to earn less revenue. They've got a higher cost to monitor, to do compliance costs. But if you look at the figures, they're making a lot of money, and I don't believe that it's wrong to ask them to do a little bit more. I mean, we have a good relationship with them, but they need to understand. In Malaysia, you can't say that the agong is like that. We don't accept it, just as they don't accept it in Thailand. This is not our culture. Now, unfortunately for them, their rules and regulations do not reflect Asian culture, Asian values. They have values which they have put into their regulations,
Community standards.
which they never, the community, but whose community? They never even asked a Malaysian, a Singaporean, an Indonesian, a Cambodian, a Thailand, hey, what do you think about this? Is it good for your country? Do you like? There was no survey done. There's no engagement done on any of the rules. Yet everybody must follow the rules. And in addition to that, the other thing, Rocky, is most people don't realize it. Everyone here who's watching this, you actually agreed when you use any application, any handphone, any platform to give your data. You looked at the terms and conditions. Please do read it. It allows them to monetize your data. In other words, they can sell your data, your so-called privacy, to anybody they like. And that's how general these things are worded. So when you talk about this privacy, actually you have none as far as they are concerned. They can do what they want with it. Look at the terms and conditions, okay, of what you've agreed to. So
But if I don't agree, I can't use.
if you don't agree, you can't use, then you can't even activate your phone because it says, I agree. You cannot say no. There's no there anymore. It's over. So these are things which, look, we say, fine, I know you're monetizing data, but be a bit cautious as to who you sell the data to. If you use it for advertisements and all that, okay, that's the cost of using the service. But you go and sell it to somebody who you have not even willing to give the name and who that person is. He may be a criminal running a child pornography or child pedophile ring there, and he wants information of certain people within certain ages. You give it out. I've got no way of knowing that. So I think being licensed, you have to be more responsible. We can put those conditions in to say you can operate, but within this spectrum, you have to take care. You have to put a little bit more effort into protecting the public. I don't think this is terribly unusual to ask such a thing. I mean, we have it in other areas of the law, but why should there be special treatment of the one set of laws for the internet and one set of laws for the physical world? In the real world, if you go to a pub and you let in a minor to drink, you're liable. You cannot say, oh, the person told me they were that age and all that. It's not a defense anymore. But yet on the internet, you can let in people who are, minors, and you can now allow that without taking any responsibility. I mean, I'm not asking them to do everything, but they should use their best efforts to try to do that. And I think that's not something.
So
the
developed
government-
countries have already.
Oh yes.
They're already ahead in terms of.
Yeah, I mean, the
regulation.
European Union is a classic one. You can see that they are very strict in terms of their control. And I believe in the United States also, their control is quite strict on these matters. It's only when it comes to Asia, it seems to be one set of rule for Asia and one set of rule for the West.
I understand that sometimes when we have MCMC have issues or government, when you call them, they hardly respond, right?
Yeah, this is the difficulty. It's a global corporation, headquarters either in United States or somewhere else.
Singapore.
In Singapore, headquarters is in these countries.
Mm.
They are doing business in the whole world. Good for them,
Mm.
and they make a lot of money. Yet, when it comes to dealing with that specific country, the degree of people come there, can't make decisions. They have to go back.
Mm.
And I mean, they do come. We do dialogue with them, but it's always about, oh, you're going to stifle our innovation. You're going to do this. You're going to do, not about how can I help you. I mean, this problem didn't just come like that. For years, we've been highlighting concerns about certain areas of content that are being put in there. You must understand, it's not about just trying to censor somebody. In many of this is a whole scheme. Let's talk about the bullying case on TikTok. It's not just I bullied you once, that this person is then passing that to other people. You viraled it. Everybody's hitting that person. That person is desperate. That person needs to say, hey, complain to the link. I'm being bullied. Please help me. Oh, sorry, you take a number. Our moderators will get back to you. And there's no urgency to want to protect the people who are using the services. And we're asking them to be a bit more responsible. It's not as if you're losing money. Put in resources to help. Treat people like human beings, not treat them like products. I don't think this is something that is too much to ask to do your bit. Yes, they do a lot of good, but we'd like, as you said, when we have meetings, be a little bit more responsible, understand the direction is going towards regulation. Let us accommodate each other in terms of the regulation. Let us protect the public, especially scams. I know about Facebook scams. I think you've all seen it. Sponsored ad, that's the first giveaway. When you see sponsored ad, then they say vacuum cleaner going at $8.99 only for this week. You go in there, you put your money. Sometimes it's $899, whatever it is. You pay, a vacuum never comes. You've been scammed. And when the police ask the platform who is the one who opened the account, what account they did, they're very slow in giving the information to the police. And somebody has lost their money. Now, why can't the person who lost their money have recourse? Now, in the normal world, actually, the person should be able to sue the platform. If we have a law to say anytime you get cheated and the platform did not take reasonable care, you should be entitled to compensation, and that would help consumer protection. So I suppose consumer protection is what we are talking about. Protect the public and protect the consumer. So again, licensing will help that. I mean, it doesn't have to be only through licensing. There are in Indonesia and other places, there are different models, but all the models relate to legal accountability for what happens on the platform.
Yeah, interesting. The other day, I read that TikTok joined the content forum. Is it?
All are invited for content
But
forum.
TikTok joined, is it?
Yeah, I don't have the specifics at this time, but everybody can join the content forum. They've got a content forum talking about content. Content it's a difficult thing in terms of content. I'll give you an example, Rocky, for instance. Rocky, over here. So I was saying, say, Rocky, you are a useless fella. You're damn bloody lazy.
I know you
come
wanted to say that.
No, I
You're
don't want that.
waiting
Just
for it.
giving an example.
Lama,
You're a lazy
Lama,
fella.
Lama.
It's
And
Rick
I
Lama.
and I tweet there, or I put on X, Rocky lazy fella comes late for meetings. Okay, I say it there. Then you retort back, hey Derek, you also equally lazy. I saw you that day during office hours. You're sitting and eating roti canai at downstairs. You brushed it off. It was not a problem for you. It did not have any effect of bullying you. It did not have effect of hurting you. Now, supposing then I pass all this, hey, Terence, can you do the same thing? Can you say also this bugger's lazy bugger? Can you say, can you get 100 fellas are now doing it and spreading it to your friends all over the place? Now, you're a tough guy. You just dismiss it. But there are other individuals who can't take it.
True.
Their world is destroyed.
Yeah.
Their friends, who some of them are not real friends, will disturb them. Oh, you're lazy. That's why I told you fail your exam. And on it goes. It reaches up a build up. The content itself, Rocky, you're a lazy guy, is not necessarily offensive. Okay? It's not necessary if Rocky doesn't think so. But the moment Rocky thinks so and tells me, please don't say that anymore, I'm very sensitive about this thing, I should stop.
Yeah.
But if I don't stop, then I believe action should be taken. But the platform says, oh, sorry, he can say what he likes, even though you take it differently, that's too bad. It doesn't offend our rules. Carry on and go for broke. And ultimately, we have a case where a suicide had happened not on a particular platform after getting it too much. Took their own life. Now we got to protect people. People have a right to say they can't take enough, and they tell the platform, "I cannot take any more. Can you please help out?" And there's something should be done.
But you see, as in Asia's case, which you mentioned, in this case of calling Rocky a lazy bugger,
Can you stop repeating that?
He's
getting to
trying
my
like-
nerves now.
Like Derek is also been trying to say that for a long time.
Yeah, go ahead.
the same thing. As in Asia's case, after you abuse Rocky and you instigate others to also abuse him, and Rocky does something to himself, okay, he puts on weight. Okay.
Or it doesn't work harder, you mean?
Okay. Or he stops being regime. Okay. You will be sashaying out of court after paying 100 ringgit bill, 100 ringgit fine.
Okay, I won't go into the specifics of that case. There were several charges open to the Director of Public Prosecutions. Okay, he could open, and when they make a decision, it's based on evidence that they have. So, in order to sustain the charge, they need evidence. We do not know whether the live streaming that took place was actually saved or recorded. Now, if they don't have that evidence, they may have to go for the lower charge. So unless I know what evidence was actually available, then the appropriate charge. I think the second person got the maximum under the Communications and Multimedia Act under Section 233. But because it is live stream, it doesn't mean that the data is actually saved. Now the new guidelines which are going to come out by MCMC will require all the people on this platform to keep their data at least for a certain period of time. And if there's police investigation, to save the data, so that, and the amendments that are going through now talk about giving the data, the information relating to a criminal offense to the police. But they didn't have any obligation at that time to save those data, and especially the live stream that is taking place may not have been saved. I do not know the specifics. Again, this is
So that had nothing to do with the lack of cyber
I
regulation.
think Terence has a point. I think it's not macam Zainal said just now. People are resisting this. It's not. The problem is not just that. It's also the various apparatus, the various parts of the apparatus that is making this happen. If if MCMC goes down hard on bullying case, but the AG office, for example, does not follow up with the proper or the
Equal
equally tough measure, then your January 1, your social licensing, social media licensing, all could fail.
absolutely correct. Totally agree with you. You're looking at the specific case. The new amendments now will require preservation of data. Recorded data for a year, or there's a time which is fixed, and also enhancement of those penalties for cyberbullying. No more just a $10,000 fine or maximum 1 year. That's under the Communications and Multimedia Act. They charge that person under a lower act. That means there were 3 laws applicable there. But again, that can be quite common where there's no evidence. That is, they were unable to secure the evidence to sustain the charge under the Communications and Multimedia Act. They went for the lower charge just to get, and of course, it's totally inadequate. Nobody can deny it's a joke for that, a slap on the wrist for what resulted in the death. But now what has happened is, because of the amendments that are being now debated in there, one enhancement of policy, in particular the preservation of data, that is the most important. That when something is on live stream, like we're talking right now, the platform provider actually saves that data for a requisite period of time. And then in the event there's an incident, when the police request, then you have to keep the data and hand it over. That's what is being sought by the government to do right now, to avoid the so-called situation of live stream data as opposed to non-live stream data, which do have records. But yeah, I do agree, totally inadequate, and unless enforcement is strict under the new licensing regime, then it's going to defeat its purpose.
Again, on the social media licensing, January 1 is just around the corner. Do you expect any of those big players to kind of resist it and say that nope, we are not going to
And
be
what will happen
licensed?
if they don't?
I hope that they understand what we're doing. We're working with them. We're not against them. They do good things here. I hope they respect our law. It's not my call as to what will happen. Technically, they will be in breach of the law. Okay. Technically, I think in Indonesia, there was a situation where the platform was suspended for almost a month or 2 weeks, completely taken off. Of course, the public may go into a fit because of that. They may be upset. And we need to understand, all we are saying is, please follow our law. We have to make a stand. If not, our digital sovereignty is non-existent. It's pointless to talk about a nation sovereign under the law when somebody says, I don't want to follow your law and I can get away with it. And if you try to enforce the law, all your population is going to get angry with you. So I think they need to respect. I think Indonesia has taken that step. I think other jurisdictions were willing to take. I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope we can work together with all the platforms. These are things, I mean, most of the time it gets okay. It's only where there's a we want to clamp down on child sexual abuse material, and it's a lot out there. Online gambling is not lawful under our country's law. We don't allow online gambling. So there are a lot of sites there that are just carrying on, and no real effort is made to track those sites down and take it down. Even I think some of the platforms have their own rules and regulations, say that they only allow the gambling that is approved by the regulator, but yet that's not enforced. So we need them to be accountable. Accountable means if you don't do it, there's a penalty. And you've heard about multi-million-dollar penalties that have taken place in Europe against platforms, even under anti-competition law. Why doesn't the same law apply to Malaysia? So that's the question. I hope they respect our laws, just as we respect the laws of other countries.
Derek, sorry, just one of the biggest concern, I mean, whether it's real or not, about this new social media licensing thing is people say you curb freedom of speech, or expression, and some people are worried. I mean, right now I can call the government a moron. It's okay. I'm okay. Can I still call the government a moron? Not that the government is a moron, but can I call the government a moron after January 1st?
Okay, so
You can't call a government moron even now because of Section 233, isn't it?
no, you can call the government a moron. That's
Are you
your right
calling
to
the
call
government
him
a moron?
You can call the government a moron. The government is not immune from criticism,
Okay, yeah.
and nobody has charged anybody under
But-
233 for
but
calling the government
but
a moron.
would
But
the-
if I annoyed and offended somebody,
No, the amendment that is going through right now only it does not cover just mere annoyance. It's in fact it must be overwhelming in the
Harmful.
sense you say the government is a moron. You say it's a moron because this minister does not know how to count, but that was a false fact. So you try to support that contention, and there are two elements. You must knowingly and with intention. If it's a parody, for instance, it's an exemption. So the new ones are coming through right now. It's being debated in Parliament, and that will curb down the broad spectrum of what you feared as 233. But I stand today that nobody has been charged the government for calling the government a moron ever under 233. I know of no case where that has happened. Okay.
you
I
see,
suppose you cannot call the government a moron, and you define it as it because this government is trying to break up the Malays, for
Yes.
example. That would be
Yes.
That would
So
be-
it's always about intention and knowingly doing something. If I am joking with you online and say something once off, and after realizing it is wrong, I say, sorry, I made a mistake there. That will never ever be charged on that. Most of the time is they know it is wrong. They keep repeating and viralizing the thing to everybody and getting this fever going on. And we know that in our country, that these things, especially when you talk about the so-called 3Rs, 3R is actually not mentioned in the act. There's no word of 3R here. But when you create a situation where there are threats of violence, there are comments there, and then the government has to step in. And that's what they've been doing. And in that sense, we are trying to prevent a harm. But I do acknowledge that there may be cases of abuses taking place, which I believe there are mechanisms in the act. For instance, there's an appeal board, and you can go to court, and there's a number of oversight mechanisms to be able to look into an abuse. But by and large, your freedom of speech is, first of all, not curbed by this. In fact, that section 233 applies whether or not you're a platform or not platform. In other words, even if you didn't license platform, the same law applies. But what we are telling the platform to do is, please make sure you follow the Malaysian law. That is, if we have a sedition act, for better or for worse, if you want to repeal the act, repeal it tomorrow. But as long as we have a sedition act or other act there, then that law is Malaysian law. That law must be respected. And your person who signs up, I think this is what it boils down to. Your terms and conditions of moderation policy must have a policy to say you must follow the local law. There must be a single line there say you must follow the local law. So anybody who uses it understand that they're under obligation to follow the local law. So if they can put in that into all their moderation, you must follow the local law, then I think that's a step in the right direction.
so basically you're going to hit them where it hurts, basically their pockets. So is Malaysia big enough for them to comply?
Okay, so I think this is not only a Malaysian problem. Yes, Malaysia is small, okay, but they do make a reasonably good income from here. But we are getting conversations at the ASEAN level. ASEAN also have the same problem you have in Thailand, you have in Indonesia. Indonesia has gone very far. And you've got in Cambodia, you've got Myanmar, you've got all the other Philippines, all having the same problem. And all the regulators are talking to each other and understanding that there is a need to regulate what is being done so that there is respect for the local law. In other words, the sovereignty of a country and its laws must be respected by all platforms. I think that's going to be common. And that's a bigger market, 700 million people. in the region. And I think that will have an impact. We don't want to get into that. We just want them to understand that whatever you put as your rules and regulations is not necessarily enough for our country, or in some cases our country do not support those laws, and to make those necessary adjustments and to provide a resources to help police it. I think I gave the example of the highway. You're a toll operator of a digital highway. Every time a car goes through, you collect money in terms of monetization of data, which you sell to advertisers, and you make money out of it, 100 of million over a year or whatever it is, you make that money. Please ensure that whoever goes through your highway, the highways, all the roads potholes are covered, that there's adequate lighting there, that there's no pirates or robbers on the road. You have to take a role in doing that. You can't say that's the government's problem. I just got the license. Like anybody goes in, I don't care. I just collect. Whether a robber gets on the highway, whether a person who's dangerous to others is not my business. I think the concept of shared responsibility is here to stay. And I think Singapore just announced yesterday, I think, or this morning, that the Monetary Authority of Singapore has forced on obligations on both platforms and telecommunication service providers to protect their subscribers, their users, their customers. And that's what we've been actually pushing for the last 2 years, that you must protect your customer and take reasonable efforts, taking into account your size and your resources, to protect your customer and also to follow local law.
Is there a requirement for them to operate here?
We have requested.
Set up an office.
Okay,
here?
so you are doing a business here in this country. You're making money. You're taking all the Malaysian and viewers' data. You're selling that data to advertisers, influencers, and you are taking Malaysian data. Should you not have a legal representation office in this country, so that if you do break the law or we need to contact you, we can go to that office and say you're responsible here. Not, oh, please, you need to go to this place in this state in US, and sorry, this guy is no authority. I think it's only reasonable that you're operating a size of a business. The licensing doesn't cover all. It only covers after a certain size. You should have an office here, and it should be legally liable for your actions. I think this is not unreasonable. I think if you go to another country and try to do business, they will ask you to also do that in the same way.
Derek, the other thing I think when you say there's a lot of confusion about the social media licensing, but social media licensing is basically licensing the platform, like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, and not your portals, not your news portals,
Not like
or
Scoop or Malaysia Kini.
No,
your-
not Malaysia Kini. Or no, it's we've defined what constitutes a social media platform. It's defined in that definition. So it includes them. Now, some of them are actually getting into not only social media, they're getting into internet messaging. So they're operating like telcos, where they're able to send communications directly to your phone and to each other, just like a telco does. But yet the telco is under strict regulation. So a telco running SMSs is strictly bound by their licenses. But if you bypass that using RCS, you get away without no. That's not fair to the telco. They have to pay money. They have to pay license fee. They have to do all this kind of stuff, and yet they are competing. So you're getting a situation where foreign products are able to operate in a business environment, but yet subject to very low regulation, and you don't give that same benefit of that low regulation to your locals. So in the end, they'll get eaten up. So we want a level playing field. One law for everybody. Nothing wrong about that.
Okay.
Do these operators at the moment, how do the government derive any income or taxes from them?
Very low. The licensing fee is a few thousand ringgit only, actually. So it's extremely low.
But
They are
they
paying
make
for
billions
that.
here, right?
Yeah. So I hope the Inland Revenue Department looks into this whole issue as the taxation of these entities. I believe other countries are looking at it.
Yeah.
Some models, for instance, where they run advertisements of news media, a scoop article is posted on their platform. They get the viewership. What do you get? Nothing, maybe.
yeah.
So we need to look at the effect of technology that is owned by a few countries in the world being able to eat up and compete with local businesses, and little revenue comes to the government. I believe. But they always say, oh no, because of me, that's why all your businesses, advertising, they're able to do that and do this. So we get into a situation of what I call as digital fentanyl. We are very dependent on this kind of stuff. And then they say, oh, we'll pull out, then you all will collapse. So that kind of thing. But I think be fair, if do you pay the Inland Revenue Department of the United States taxes? If you do, then you should actually pay, incorporate locally and pay some tax to the government. I believe government must have its share, because local businesses have to pay. You have to pay as a media outlet. Your balance sheet, they'll ask you to pay tax. But yet I can take your work and get the same impact, and I don't pay. So yeah.
So it's good to know, Zainal. At least Derek has clarified that it's got nothing to do with a lot of players. You and me,
We
our
okay.
our social media
We okay,
combined
fine.
will not
Yeah.
come under Derek's and MCMC's
Yeah.
scrutiny or social media
Yeah.
licensing.
And the influencer should be okay.
Yeah, but one thing that has affected or seems to have affected local players, is the small players, is the alleged blocking of and bringing down articles or reels of content seen as or deemed as a bit critical of the government. Is there any truth in that, Derek?
Okay, so in this realm, it is dangerous to talk generally. We need to look at the facts of the specific cases, because often there is a lot of information that the public may not be privy to in relation to the reason. I think recently there was some video that was requested by one of them to be brought down regarding some corruption scandal and all. But the facts of the matter, when they unfold, will show you that it's not action against action. It's not. It was a request by law enforcement agencies. Number
For
one, so it's not
investigation
MCMC going to take it
purposes,
down.
yeah.
Number two, understand this. I'll give you a hypothetical. Supposing you videotape all three of us in a compromising financial transaction or an act of corrupt practice.
Financial. Like
Okay.
you said,
Financial, okay.
Financial.
Okay.
Okay. I won't get into the others, but financial. Okay. And then you exposed it as a good journalist would do. Great stuff. And it comes out, world sees it, public demand action. I mean, that's journalism. That's your duty. That's integral part of democracy to do that. Based on that, the anti-corruption agency, the police forces are investigating. They've opened investigative papers. Then they come to you and say, Mr. Rocky, we need the originals of the recording because you only send us a WhatsApp of the video.
Okay.
You say, yeah, I'll get it for you. No problem, I won't get it for you. In the meantime, all three of us, already getting worried about our faces there, realize that in court, original recordings are critical because if not, they can be doctored. And the people under you who you've been benefiting from your corrupt practices are getting agitated and worried. And he suddenly receives a threat in the middle of the night. Rocky, take off everything or we'll kill you and your family tomorrow. Okay, let us say that. Or a bullet is sent or one of these things there. Okay. You immediately lodge a report with the police that you're being threatened. Now, in such a situation, depending on the assessment of the risk to you, it may be prudent to remove it for that moment because we don't want the star person to be. So there may be many reasons where a decision has been made to take down. But take down doesn't mean you did anything wrong in posting it or the platform carrying it. It may mean necessary to protect your safety. So we need to look at all the situations. So normally what you do is they write, there'll be correspondence. And I think you need to, don't jump the gun, go through the motions. If you find cases of abuse, please highlight it. If you get a full explanation, then understand the context in which, because we're dealing with law enforcement authorities who made that request. Okay?
Yeah. But I don't know, sometimes I think we overthink things. You know, what I mean is, we all have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all that, and we all have experienced these platforms bringing down our postings for one reason or another. What was the word? Just community
breach of community guidelines. Of
and
community
no
standards.
nothing. They don't tell you beforehand. They just say, okay, this posting is no longer available because you have breached blah blah blah. You have 2 weeks to appeal. Okay, and then they will decide and they will repost it or it will disappear forever. Nobody makes any noise about it. You know, nobody complains about it, politicize it. I think, what if MCMC, what if the Malaysian government were to adopt the same approach? This is our laws, you know, you have done something, we just bring it down. We just tell you to bring it down and you can appeal. That means you should first.
That, in fact,
ask
what
questions
you say
later.
is that's the law, actually. In fact, the appeal board is set up under the Act.
And that is how it's going
and there are
to.
people who have lodged appeals. We've got a few cases where they've gone, they've lodged an appeal, or they've gone for judicial review to the court to challenge the instruction to remove.
Okay.
And you're allowed to do that. But the platforms don't give you that opportunity. And that's the point. I think you highlighted it. In many cases, which the regulator did not remove it, they remove themselves.
Yep.
And you've seen that in the United States, I think after the just recent election where admissions are coming, that certain amount of information was removed, was blocked, especially relating to MRA vaccines
Yeah.
Yes.
and all that. Even Facebook, again, one of the social media leaders was saying he was forced to hide material so that people could not make an informed decision. So this is all coming out. This is going on daily. People have been shadow blocked. Sometimes you say something, especially in the geopolitical conflicts or what's happening in Gaza and all that, you're not getting the message out there. And it says, 100,000 people have viewed it. Actually, only they put the number 100,000. There's only 5 people saw it actually. So this kind of shadow blocking, where's the accountability? Who looks into all these kind of stuff?
Correct.
Nobody is regulating, but people all accept it. Unfortunately, the public think that, it's there. But actually, what's happening is the level of censorship taking place is huge.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
even before the government got involved in its moderation.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean what you said. I believe everybody got a right. And if you wrongly take somebody's things down, they have a right to challenge that decision. And that
Well,
right must be
But
protected.
you don't have the right to challenge the decision of the platform.
The platform you can't.
Because I remember
only appeal.
no,
You can,
appeals,
no?
you can appeal.
Yeah, but
Good luck
it's
to
up
you.
to them to.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
remember during the early days of the Palestinian conflict, the Israeli invasion of Gaza, PM made a statement about Gaza. It was brought down.
Yeah. So what is that? That is a classic case of censorship. On what grounds? And even in the case of our prime minister sitting on a chair next to somebody at a meeting, that is taken down. So where's that freedom of speech?
So like you said just now, there are two sets of rules.
There are two rules. One for those who make the rules and one who's supposed to follow the rules. So there are two sets. In other words, those who make the rules don't have to follow their own rules. And else the others have to follow the rules. So this is so clear it is happening. There's two laws.
Why do you think there are people still resisting this attempt to?
I know the people just want to get on with their life. They've developed an attachment to the media. They feel they can vent out and they can communicate. So they feel they're talking to their friends. They believe that there's that freedom to say what they want to say. But when you go into a deeper level, when you talk about things that are geopolitically controversial, they don't realize they're not allowed to say that.
Yep.
So they are comfortable and they don't want that to be affected. They want to get on. I refer to the term as digital fentanyl. So the thing is, I don't. I mean, I know they just want to get on with their lives, and they feel. And we come from a history where we can't deny there's been misuse of censorship laws. When the opposition was there, they silenced them, and that can happen. And I can understand their reservations. I can understand their concerns, but they need to see a bigger picture here. I believe at the end of the day, they should have a right to challenge any decision to remove, either in a court of law or before a tribunal. And they can file it in there. And I think the media have a responsibility to highlight all these cases. That's your.
I think
highlight it.
that is where you guys need to be very cautious. And I did mention this to the minister yesterday, that the intentions are there. We understand intentions. We empathize, we sympathize, and we support. I mean, many of us, all of us, we have children, grandchildren, nephews, nieces, so we understand where it's coming from. But as they say, the road to hell is paved with
Good
intentions. So tomorrow we have an Orwellian autocratic government that comes into power. Okay, are you giving them today the tools that they're going to use tomorrow to come down hard on freedom of speech and expression using these tools?
Okay.
Because there is a trust deficit on any government, and especially the authorities. If you're saying that it's the police or MCMC or whoever, there's definitely there's going to be a trust deficit over there.
So it's a very valid question, Terence. It's just like a chair that you're sitting on today. This chair is for you to sit down and have an interview, be comfortable, so you don't have to stare. It is a good tool to help you do your job. But somebody can take this chair and use it as a weapon and crack his head there, or knock you on the head, or hit somebody, or assault somebody. So the tool itself is neutral, but the person's intention to use those tools and to misuse it, that's the problem. So what you're saying is, if we have all these laws, it can be misused. Yes, it can be misused. And you have those laws, it cannot be misused and used for good purpose. Just like technology, just like social media, it can be used for good, it can be used for bad. The intention of the person is critical. How do we control that intention? I suppose in our democracy, which we still believe our votes are not manipulated, we vote the government of the day. That is, if we feel our government is abusing the power vested in them, we throw them out. That is your right to throw them out and to put somebody there who will have respect for rule of law. We also have a third branch of a government called the judiciary, where they are right. At this point in time, nobody has denied the judiciary's right to intervene in all these cases. There have been tons of cases filed to challenging governmental decisions in relation to taking sites down. That independent institution must survive. But of course, if all the institutions are compromised, yes, then we have a dictatorship. We have an Orwellian nightmare, and that can happen.
Well,
But the risk which you need to understand is if we don't do this, then we may have the Orwellian nightmare, not because of our country, but some private corporation is actually controlling everything you do, telling you, sorry, you can't appeal, we've turned you down, bye-bye, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't spend your money because we've blocked all your digital accounts. You are no longer, your views are not consistent with our so you got no money. I think this happened to Nigel Farage, uncovered the huge scam in the banking industry where they blocked him from opening an account to make him a pauper because he had unpopular political views. It's not really something unusual. If we give too much power to one entity, then this kind of abuse is can happen.
Possible.
And there's nothing you can do about it. So you just got to spread it all over.
I think Zainul, we can attest to that because Scoop and Big Boom have been flagged by TikTok and Instagram, given final warnings for some of our content, which were in fact about the atrocities in Gaza.
Yeah.
And we were they even brought down without informing us Prime Minister's question time clips. Okay. It was, and we appealed, and they didn't respond. Well, they did say we were in breach of the community standards, but it was only through the intervention of MCMC when we appealed to MCMC that we managed to get some form of solution.
So this is a point which is close to the heart of all Malaysians. The genocide of the people of Gaza is unacceptable under any humanitarian standard. Yet the champions of humanitarian human rights are not doing anything to stop censorship of us expressing our opinion, our government expressing opinion, that we are shocked at what is going on, and what is going on is horrible. And the fact that they do that with impunity because they're not subject to our laws. This is the point. If our law guaranteed freedom of speech on matters relating to geopolitical, like Gaza, or highlighting genocide, then by censoring it in this country, they will have broken our law. So they want to steer their narrative, but at the moment it's inconvenient or against what is being said. And you've given that example, news agency, Prime Minister's speech highlighting a matter, and they can take it off the internet. I personally would go further, but it would not be appropriate for me to say this. But I have understand they were willing to do that to the Telegram chief. Telegram chief, they can arrest him in a French airport. Arrest him. Are you going to arrest any of these big tech people as they come for conferences? This is the problem. Again, two sets of rules. When the guy at Telegram says something, he can be subject to criminal prosecution. But others, they can do what they like.
Selective lah. Telegram, yes, but not Meta. Not.
But then you have local champions like a former AG, who have been slamming the authorities for blocking individuals blogs and postings and pinning it down as the reason for the fall of our press freedom ranking, for example. And these same champions do not even touch what these foreign elements are doing to our freedom and our.
Yeah, Rocky.
How do you deal with them?
I deal with that in the same way. Let's look at these rankings. I won't mention names, but you all know that there are some countries that totally ban media outlets from Russia. You can't even access a normal, whether it be riding horses or anything. The whole media items are blocked completely. Should that get a 0 ranking, isn't it? Immediately. You're talking about a official government news agency is being blocked from there. But these all don't factor into the rankings. So we need to look at the methodology of what they are talking about in terms of say, I think Malaysia very free. We didn't stop any news outlet has not been banned in this country. I don't know, to the best of my knowledge. They're all there. They are there. Whatever is there, we have a section which is called, under the Communication Multimedia Act, we say conduct yourself within that. We in fact very liberal. You can get China news, you can get Russian news, you can get BBC, you can get Al Jazeera. Everything goes here.
Everything, yeah.
So what are you talking about? Isn't that freedom of views? But that's not the same in other countries.
Yep.
In fact, in one news outlet was told to leave a country, remember?
Yep.
Recently, because of its report on Gaza.
Yeah.
Where's the price ranking of that country? Is it 0? No, it doesn't even come into the equation. They don't even rate them. So I take it with a bit of pinch of salt.
That's a
when we
good
talk
point.
about it.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's talk about the amendment to 588. Section 58 of the Communication and Multimedia Act.
Yes.
Okay.
What is
So-
Section 588?
Okay.
Okay, so it's
Oh,
not Section 588. The Act itself, which you refer to actually, is the Multimedia and Communication Act. It is called Act 588. Act 588, and that was in 1998. So now an amendment is being proposed.
Okay.
Okay, so 1998, 26 years ago, right?
Yep.
26 years ago, we passed this law. Now, this law has to be upgraded. The penalties are very low. Imagine a penalty in 1998 is nothing today in terms of 26 years later.
Okay.
Okay, so what this act is going to do, I can't go into the specifics because this act is now going to be introduced to the public.
What is
But
spirit
its
of it?
intention and spirit is to make it more difficult, make it more hard, and make it a greater deterrent for pedophiles, scammers, and bullies. Okay? Upgrading the penalties. Number 2, to narrow the definition of annoy in 233 to make it a little bit more harder, not just that simple act. Okay? To actually narrow it down so that people are not so fearful that the word can be misused and give some examples. So that's what it's hoping to do. And thirdly, to give a right to law enforcement in the case of a crime or investigation of a crime to ask for the data and information that is being hosted on these platforms. For instance, in the case of the TikTok, for instance, or in the case of the bully on the cyberbully resulting in the death of a person, the account holder, the information is important. In the case of a scammer on Facebook, that once you have lodged a report, you've been scammed, the money has been paid out to the person, no goods have been delivered, the person doesn't exist, then the platform must give information who is the account holder, where that money went to enable law enforcement to be more effective. If not, all you do is just lodge a report and you beg that the bank will give you back to say it was a scam. The bank says it's your fault. You touch that link and bye-bye, and you lost your money. And people are losing money. They're losing their savings. They believed in a system of digital trust that will be protected, and unfortunately, they're not protected. And when things go wrong, they lose everything.
So in the event of failure or refusal to comply, what happens?
So it'll be a serious penalty will be imposed. So again, I'll give you an example. Like, I won't go into the details because this is something going to be debated. But how I would do it is, if you don't do it, you have a $1 million fine, enforceable in any country. So basically, fining system, what the EU uses. The EU is very good at the fines. You've seen the fines, huh?
So
Hundreds of millions.
So they're increasing the fines from 200,000 to 1 million.
They are going to increase the fines so that it's not dismissed as
Okay.
don't worry, I just pay the fine and I'm not going to. We don't want to fine them. We want them to modify their behavior. First of all, you allow a person to open a business account. How many of you got business accounts on your phone here? A business account, WhatsApp. Oh, hi, this Derek, this is this thing, Evelyn. And you look at the list of people on the group, your friends. Karen's sitting there. Rocky, all of them are sitting there under that because that's actually an account that has been compromised. They put your few names, then they got a whole lot of discussion. Oh, I got into this butte investment scheme, and on and on and on it goes. And if you're stupid enough because you saw your friends' names there and all that, you pay your money. Then later on, you ask the WhatsApp, who is opened the account? Oh, we cannot give you the information. Privacy, and all kind of stuff there, So if you enable a situation where you like anybody come in and use the tool and to cheat people, you have to take some responsibility. Just like in the pub when you go and drink, if you don't check the age of the person, you're responsible. Don't give excuses because that's your duty. So I've seen it. I've even got one on my phone where it goes on and they can add your name. Everybody can be added. You can't protest. They can add, you can opt out, but actually it should be before you add a person, you should call the person up. Hey, Terence, I want to set a group up to discuss about social media licensing. Can I add you? No, they can pop your number on there, put it all on this thing. Now, where are the rules to protect the public? Who decides those rules?
So will there be jail time?
I do not know. I normally
You had to
normally
draft the
normally
amendment, right?
normally fine normally in there is a jail usually given, but again it's not appropriate for me because it's just going right on right now. So let them debate and discuss.
I think Derek, I think the intention of what the licensing and amendment to the Act 588, I think they are good intentions, but I think them exists an opportunity for the regulators, for the government to go down to the ground and explain better. Because I think even here we are learning about new things. I mean, you put it out. Some of the your explanation is very clear and succinct, and you give example. But because right now people opposing to this thing will come up with all kinds of stories and
Arguments,
ideas
yeah.
about censorship, about all, but not even addressing issues like like what you have about pornography, child
Scams.
scams, because I think those are the stories that are not told often enough.
Nobody wants to talk about this.
Yeah, but people, some of them know about it, right? But they just
You look at the online gambling. It's a huge problem for our country. It's the number one. Now, whether you want to license or not license, that's a government decision, policy decision. But having said that, the millions of ringgit that is leaving this country on people while throwing away their salaries because they're gambling, because you always lose in gambling, as you know. That's why these companies grow. There's no winner in this in the end. And all that money is going out of the country. There's no revenue for the country. And then you worry why your ringgit is falling when this money is going on. The sites are open, nobody takes action against them. They keep popping up, you close one. So this is a big problem. Child sexual abuse is unbelievable. They can get young people take off their clothes and take pictures, and this is the kind of influencing that is being done. All this that nobody. So I ask you a question: for the detractors out there, what's the alternative? We leave it to the social media to regulate themselves as they have been doing, and we just watch the statistics rise. And at one point, is it too much, or you just leave it and say, user at risk? You're a product, you use it, you fall in the hole on the highway, you've got no rights, a robber extorts, it's your problem, not the government problem. Do we say that? So where's the alternative? There's no alternative that has been proposed. Even asking to open an office, at least you attend to the problems. So what does the government do? Do we protect the people, or do we just say, okay, let them regulate themselves? And as you know, self-regulation has not worked. That's why the EU had to step in. Singapore has passed laws. Indonesia has passed laws. America has plenty of laws. Everywhere around the world, they have passed laws because they realize that self-regulation does not work where you're financially driven. That the cost of doing protecting the public is money, and it affects your bottom line. So you're not going to voluntarily do it.
Guys, you know why there's this resistance to compelling the platforms to reveal the data of the users, especially when it comes to pedophilia. You're going to end up having a PDD list or a Jeffrey Epstein list of the who's who,
A Diddy list.
Datuk pervert, Tansi pedo.
Terence seems to know.
No, they are
something.
not. They don't. It's not like that. They don't ask them for all the list of all the pedophiles. That's not how it actually works. But we've seen an account, let us say on Telegram. Kids' pictures are there. Hookups and all that are going on there. That account then has a name and a registered person. We then have to ask the platform. This is an offense. We are investigating who is the account holder, where they opened the account. We need details. And we find out that there's been a gross, couldn't care less who opens an account. Everybody can hide behind anonymity for the purpose of perpetuating a crime. Then we feel that wrong has been done.
Yeah.
Because they know who it is. Because the algorithm itself also watches the person who opened the account so that they can sell services and products to that person. So I don't see why they cannot do that where there's a criminal offense against the law of the land. We're not asking for general, give us all the data and all that. No, that will not, impossible to happen. It's going to happen as a result of a criminal investigation, a breach of the law.
Derek, people are still getting scammed, huh?
Yes.
Despite all the warnings, despite everything that they have read. On Monday morning, a friend of mine woke up with 100 ringgit left in her bank account, 3 bank accounts, 100 ringgit each, for just the night before or 2 nights before that, clicking on an SMS message. It really, you just woke up and what do you tell? How do I tell my friends but that don't fall for scam
Okay, so
because it's still happening.
okay, so here's the thing, Rocky. It's something nobody wants to hear. And my conversation now and my discussion is not talking as MCMC. It's talking a person who's got a passion in this area. You need to understand a reality. Any electromagnetic communication, transfer of data through the electromagnetic spectrum can be intercepted, can be modified. Okay? So anybody who tells you otherwise is a liar. Okay? That means whenever you use digital signaling, somebody can capture the data and modify the data. In fact, the whole warfare that is taking place now in Ukraine, Russia, is based on the ability to what we call electromagnetic warfare, which is taking place right now, or signals intelligence. So having said that, that's number one. Number two, which you need to understand, what you have here, I know you like your phone. I love my phone. We cannot live without it. But this device has been made for the purposes of me being able to communicate with all of you here, being able to show my pictures, talk about my happiness with you. But at the same time, it is designed to give every data, every communication I put in to the maker. The maker takes that data and monetizes it, turns it into money by selling the information to people for the products or commercial products and services. In other words, what you have in a hand phone or a mobile device is a surveillance tool. It is not a secure communication. It is meant to take data, allow data to be transmitted, and to actually take that data out. Now, having said that, you understand the problem. No matter what you do, if you can take my data out, it'll only be a matter of time before somebody figures out how to do it. And if they're able to figure out how to do it, they can take your data out, which can include your passcodes, your whatever it is, you put it in there, and be able to penetrate. A simple analogy is if it can be programmed, it can be hacked. Okay, understand that. All right. So this is but nobody wants to talk about this. That is why I had proposed an MCMC, and now, okay, we wanted a cooling off period. That is, when I transfer money from me to you, for the first time only, over a certain limit, say 2,000 ringgit, that transaction is suspended I asked for 48 hours. 48 hours, you're not going to die. The world is not going to die. Those days we used to write checks. It takes 2 days to clear. The world didn't collapse. So that would give you time that if you feel you're scammed, after you paid it through, you call the number, hey, nobody picks up, the shop is not there, your friends tell you, hey, brother, this one's scam, man, you can stop the transaction and recover your money. Now, I push for that. So far, we got 12 hours. Singapore also said today, 12 hours. 12 hours is not enough because of the time difference. They attack you at 8 at night, you wake up in the morning. I'm hoping for the government to impose 24 hours mandatory to protect. That won't protect you against love scam, because love scam goes on for months and months and months. but that will protect you from the other type of scam. You click that one, that kind of stuff. That's number one. Number two, the government can impose mandatory digital insurance. That is, all guys who are given a financial services license to carry out digital transaction must take at their own cost, let us say a 0.1 cent or 1 cent per transaction insurance, centralized to Bank Negara. And if there's any scam, the money can be paid out to protect it. And it comes as a cost of doing business. You need to take insurance. Just as me as a lawyer, I have to take professional insurance. So what is so wrong to take insurance if you claim that the incidence is small compared to the total volume?
Right.
So insurance is another way that can be done to protect against what is if not, it's not if, but when.
When it
Okay,
happens.
so you will get it. Now, there are a number of ways to protect yourself, which I can go through if your viewers are interested, up to a degree. But a committed person using AI, knows your profiling structure, will get to you. So I suggest everybody out there, please don't put all your money in one digitally accessible account. Open 2 accounts. The bank can accommodate you. Nothing wrong. One account, you keep all your income there. You open a smaller, the account you keep all your money, cannot take out money digitally. You have to go to the bank and transfer it. That's okay. You're not going to die. Nobody's going to die going to the bank. We've been doing this all our life. It's not a big problem. Then you have a second account where you can do all your payment systems and all that. You put it in there. Maybe you put a $10,000 float in there. So your maximum, you die also 10,000, You don't go into wake up, your whole account is empty. So there must be a number of options and precautions so you protect, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
All right.
Okay. The other thing is try to use credit cards rather than debit cards. The credit card have a little bit of advantage because the credit card company is lending money. So when it lends money, if it's lent to the wrong person, you don't pay, they have to dispute that bill with you. As opposed to your one is empty account, you have just complained and the money is already gone there. So you try to protect the little money you're earning. I don't think this is difficult. I believe the financial services sector, while they improve their technology, detection capabilities, and anti-fraud measures, the government should protect the consumer, protect the public, and I think things will work out a little bit less risk, but impossible to say zero risk. You've seen penetration all over.
Derek, I think that's a very good advice.
Yeah.
Now, for us to get the money into our banks.
That I can't help you. I face the same problem too.
Yeah. Anyway, Derek, it's been very, 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 very informative and interesting session. I think we learned a lot, and we can.
I
see
think we
also
need to
his-
get Derek back here because there's a lot more to
Yeah.
discuss in the
We can also
months
see he's very
going forward.
passionate about this thing.
Yes, yes. And,
Yeah, he almost turned into a lawyer just now.
he almost turned into a lawyer.
And it almost became made it a fact that I'm lazy.
It was only
Almost,
an example,
almost.
a hypothetical.
Another 5 minutes, and can we end it now?
Okay,
So
Derek.
thanks, Derek, for joining us today. Derek Fernandez, Commissioner for the MCMC, the Malaysia Communications and Multimedia Commission, very hardworking man.
And I'd like to end with a message to your viewers.
Yes, please.
Stay safe, be just, and look for the truth.
Yeah, thank
There
you
you
very
go.
much. Yes, well done.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Derek.
you. Thank you.
Trick, trick, trick. Trick lama. Trick lama.